Comes.
Greetings, family.
The fire burning red in a Joshua representing for comes hard here. Big up Kidaki. Buxton massive. Hey Babylon boy, you go on like come son. Red.
Never joke. Never joke. Never joke. Oh, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money, I know what you can I be money. Money, never money, money, never money, money, you can keep, you can even money. When you've been up for a bum, in a business be money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. When you had your pocket full, in a business be money. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me money. Yes, money, never money, never money, money, never money, money, now know what you conniving money. Neighbor joker, neighbor joker, neighbor joker. That's all the money that me walk for. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. This is all the money that me walk for. I said money, neighbor, money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money. I know what you can I be money. Oh, Joseph.
Guyana and Guyanese, at home and abroad. Tune in the Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Comes TV, where wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruption over land and sea, where the wicked politicians they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. There's one set of people getting oil money. There's one set of people doing the thievery. Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see, sharing your views and your integrity. Like it, comment and share it all around. Pass it to your neighbor, safe and sound. A sad situation going on in this town. The voice of the people is getting trampled down. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, with Jah as ordained me to sing. I sing Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, fooling the people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. Stop fooling people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. I say Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. They got Breakford, Bork and Mark Benchcop. David Hines and Kadaki Amsterdam. Sherrod Duncan, Nigel London. Normal Brown and Gavin Matthews. Big up Paslow, Port People Governor. Simona Brooms, Robin Simpson. Hampton Green and Winston Jordan. And yes, we can go right on and on. Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again.
The relatives and friends of young Wyndham Bacchus, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of our in Boston, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of Peter Headley, they deserve justice.
And so when we say that Guyana is an apartheid state, we have the evidence to show.
Hey fans, it's karaoke and oldies night this and every Thursday at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton. Dance to the magical songs of yesteryear by popular DJs and Camps Audio. Admission is free. Come out, let's make memories at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton North.
Greetings, family. I'm excited to invite you to 3 nights of spiritual revival. That's correct. It's happening Friday, April 26th, all the way to Sunday, April 28th. And it's happening on the East Coast. We're going to be at the Bacchus Square in Vigilance North Housing Scheme on the East Coast for 3 nights of Kingdom Exposition 2024, being hosted by the Kingdom Life Ministries. I'm excited about what the Lord is going to do. I want to challenge you to come out. I'll be there by God's grace to share the heart of the Lord with you, along with Minister Simeon Williams and Apostle Valenston Mitchell, all the way from Linda. It's going to be 3 powerful nights of ministry. You can't afford to miss it. We believe in God for an invasion of the Holy Spirit and for revival to break out into your life. We know that God has created you for a purpose. We know that you must secure your salvation at all costs. And we know that there's something that you must fulfill in the land of the living for the Lord. Can't wait to see you as a part of the Kingdom Exposition 2024. God bless you until we connect.
You can get meat anywhere, but for the best cuts of chicken, beef, pork, mutton, and lots more, check out T&W Harris Butcher Shop, located in the East Ramvelt Market Meat Section. Call us on 609-7168, 641-4494. Ask for Rastaman. T&W Harris Butcher Shop, for the best in fresh cut meats and lots more.
Comes out your son. You burn the swine when I want you shine. The tree of life, them I want you climb, cause them heart no kind. Comes I say them heart no kind. Buxton Massive, Kidaki, Red Hat.
Attention, attention, attention. Your attention, please. Kingdom Life Ministries Full Gospel Fellowship Buxton presents 3 nights of crusade, starting this Friday, April the 26th, through Sunday, April the 28th. Join us from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. each night at the Bacchus Square Vigilance North Housing Scheme. Prepare to be inspired by our dynamic speakers, the likes of Apostle Kwame Wilson from Caneville Full Gospel, our very own Minister Simeon Williams, and Apostle Rawlinson Mitchell, all the way from Linden. Don't miss out on this powerful opportunity. Bring your family, bring your friends, and let's experience the move of God together.
I'll start saying, morning, area. Morning. This place look dark. I need some light. Bring on the light, bring on the light, bring on the light. Morning, are you morning? Morning, are you morning? I need some light, I need some light. Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. It is 7:30 on the 23rd day of April in the year 2024. Welcome to the program. How have you been? How was your yesterday? How was your last night? How did you wake up this morning? How you found it when you got up? Anyway, at school, it's raining. What's the word? Intermittently. Every now and again, you get little light showers and so on and so forth. Rain like that, like some people. There's when rain falling in a certain way, there's got like a certain gender. Anyhow, welcome to the program. Yeah, I don't like this background. It's kind of dark. I'll give me a minute. I gotta get some light up. Let's get some light in this place. Let's see if this is better. Yeah, kind of better. It could be better, but kind of better. All right, let's rock with this, no problem. Let's rock with this. When I sit in this place, I feel very relaxed. And so if you see, I toss myself all over, like, as they say, like at the home, I feel exactly like that. I'm very comfortable in this space. Thank you, Club Twilight, for this corner. This is a VIP corner, mind you. But, got nice boot furniture, and right now it has an oscillating fan, some fancy lights. It has what do you call this thing? Nothing, man. Well, I don't know. Sometimes 50 is not kind to me, you know. I got this thing. What do you call this thing? Something to do with air. Humidifier. Yes, it has a humidifier. It's a nice fragrance. Smart TV in the corner there. So every time you see a look in the corner, is the smart TV you're looking at. Yeah, comfortable. Club Twilight. Oh, you know something? I don't think I put power on this laptop. This morning a little slow. You have to bear with me, you know. Sometimes you have to just be like that. Live life. Live life, partner. Live life. Oh, the laptop is connected. The fan is now on. Good. Put it to oscillate. All right, good. Let's get ready to rumble. Good. Oh, y'all do. Okay, now. First order of business, I got some people to block. I ain't want to cause them. I'm going to just block them. I see a chap named Rashid, I think, coming cussing up. And so I'm going to block Rashid. Y'all tell me going. I know y'all night went. Y'all had a good night? Y'all rested well? I hope so. I hope you have renewed your spirit to struggle and fight this wicked and vindictive government and all the wickedness in this world, right? I see Rahman Mohammed asking if people boycott my show. I don't do a show, I'm doing a program, an educational program. How I would feel. Stop telling people to boycott the people's business. Let's tell you something, Rahman Mohammed. Every action has consequences. And when you sit here, I sit here in the mornings, I'm prepared to deal with the consequences that come. Right? And so if I misbehave, if I do something against the will of the people and the people choose to boycott me because I'm not operating in keeping with their will, because I'm here to serve the people, unlike what a lot of people believe, I'm a servant of the people. If they say, Mr. Amsterdam, you're not serving our cause, as a matter of fact, you are inimical to our cause, and we're not going to be supporting you, we're not going to be looking at your show, we wouldn't share it, and so on and so forth. What choice do I have? I either amend my ways to come in line with what the people want, or I bid them goodbye. Good? Understand that? So, Rahman, I'm not scared. I'm not afraid. If some person or persons were to advise others to not view my show, boycott my show, and so on and so forth, and people choose to exercise their democratic right, I have no problem with that. But I can say, contrary to that thought of yours, people are viewing the show. And people like you are rushing to view the show. Why? Because every day there are bits and pieces of information, there's analyses, there are discussions, which your government is afraid of, number one. And number two, keeps you informed. If only you can use the information that is provided to you to shape your thinking on this government, or to look in an objective way at what is happening in this country, then you won't come telling me nonsense. Further, Rahman again, when the president was giving out cash grant, I mean, he said giving, but I know he should have been writing giving. I'm pretty sure all of you and those scholars was in line for the cash. Big dog. I want to say to you, Rahman, I'm not going to block you for suggesting that people should boycott my show or stuff like that. I'm going to block you for calling people dog. Don't do it here. I'm not going to permit it. As a matter of fact, I'll remove your comment today. The next time it happens, I'm going to block you. You're being given fair chance. Right? But now for the meat of the matter. The president doesn't go into his pocket to give out cash grant. He goes to the consolidated fund to give out cash grant. The consolidated fund is the bank account of Guyanese citizen. Every single citizen got a hold, got a right to what's in the consolidated fund. Leave it up to the president or presidents to go to his pocket and give Guyanese anything. We will certainly die from hunger, starvation, deprivation, because the fact is, he's only there to administer the nation's resources, and they're doing it so miserly and meanly and not giving it to Guyanese. So imagine if it were his resources to give. What would have happened? Instead of them giving Guyanese what Guyanese are entitled to, they steal it. They siphon off it. They cream off the best of it for their friends, families, and favorites. So if every single Guyanese were lined up there, wherever you're talking about, to get cash grant, they're entitled to it. And now that we're talking about cash grant, there's that famous barbecue video that has been circulating, showing how the PPP deals with cash grant. Number one, if it weren't for that barbecue video, I would not have been aware, many persons would not have been aware that it is the PPP's plan to give out cash grant in what appears to be a particular part of this country in this month, or the new month, whichever is said. And secondly, it shows that unless you're a friend and crony, unless you're supporting of the wrong that the PPP is doing, you ain't got no cash grant to get. Listen to the cash grant video. I ain't got time for going to search for that. Many of you, or most of you, might have heard it. The barbecue video. Hot dog video, as a matter of fact. If any of you have it, you can just throw the link in the chat so they can have a view of it. A PPP organizer saying, I want a list of the people that refuse to pay for the hot dog tickets or barbecue tickets, whatever. I will take their names off of the list of cash grant. First and foremost, what it has said there is that the agencies of state were not responsible for compiling those lists. Party officials were compiling those lists. Excuse me. Excuse me, pardon me. Party officials were responsible for compiling those lists. And so they get their friends and cronies on the lists. People they perceive to be PPP supporters on the list. And when they approach those very people to sell tickets and they refuse, they conclude, oh, they're not supportive of us really. We're going to take them off of the list. That says that the agencies of the state are not allowed to function or do not function the way they were intended to. Instead, party officials, I think the word is apparatchiks. I don't know if you know that word, party apparatchiks, are being given authority to perform government functions. And party apparatchiks, party operatives, are given the authority to perform government functions. It means that we are talking about paramountcy of the party. Paramountcy of the party is no longer democracy. It's not a meritocracy. It's a dictatorship. And so the same thing that the PPP has been accusing or has accused the PNC for years in the past, and still every now and again they bring it up and they talk about PNC used to this and PNC used to that and PNC used to the other. They are just another side of the same coin, quite frankly. The same sins that they accuse the PNC of, they are guilty of today. Party official running things. in Barbies, I got a complaint from Quarantine Barbies. Children who were on the public assistance list, a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old were on the public assistance list for several years. They were receiving public assistance. And this year, the 6-year-old was taken off of the list and the 9-year-old was left on the list. And when you inquire why, all they can tell you is that not because you're on a public assistance list, you have to remain there forever. This is the same, these two children come from the same household. No change is really taking place in the structure of the household, except that it remains a single parent and a single parent that has aged. But one was taken off. My investigations revealed what? Party people were responsible for drawing up the list. The Ministry of Social Services, social workers, case workers, as we call them in many instances, were not the ones who drew up the list. Party officials were allowed to usurp the function, take over the roles of the social workers, and they drew up the list. And anybody that they perceive not to be PPP, they gave a hard time to either get on the list or remain on the list. They packed the list with their friends and families and favorites. That is what they have done. So the people who were legitimately in need of that assistance have been shifted off of the list because party officials were allowed to take over the role, the function of the social workers. That is not a democracy. We're talking paramountcy of the party in 2024. Paramountcy of the party. Then a minister could call a local government or any other office and issue an instruction to the administrative staff of that office, and they got to jump without questioning it. This party paramountcy. So Rahman, or whatever your name, I'm deleting the comment right now. Caution, don't come back here using those words, those assertions. I hope I've been able to educate you as to what is happening in this country. And you're not insulting us by telling us, I sure when cash grant was being given out, y'all been in the line. We got a right to be in the line. Now you Momo, now you Daddy, now you Chachi, now you whoever. No. The assets are the property of the state. That money is in the consolidated fund, or it should be in the consolidated fund. I see somebody asking the question, what about the Lotto funds? What is happening with the money from the Lotto funds? The Lotto funds money was supposed to fund social projects. Previously, it was under the control of the office of the president. Only the president could deal with the thief. Well, last year, they report on the Lotto funds. And since I touched on the Lotto fund, let me ask you something. For all of those, Rahman and all of them, Dan Paul and all of them who seem to believe or seem to claim that African Guyanese don't have ideas and African Guyanese can't do anything and manage anything, let me remind you that the Lotto fund came out of an idea that former Prime Minister and Mayor Hamilton Green had. Hamilton Green and team, I would say, brought the idea of a Lotto fund to Guyana, to Georgetown, to fund City Hall. the PPP quickly knocked it out of the air. No, it will not be allowed. The churches will be against it. It's gambling, etc., etc. But 2 morning and 3 spins, and Canadian banknote was able to open the Lotto office here, except that the direction in which the money was going wasn't to City Hall, but to central government. And then they asked why City Hall can't execute its duties efficiently, because it doesn't have funding. And every time it came up with a proposal for funding, the government knocked it out of the air and they stole those that were workable. And so the Lotto Fund is bringing billions of dollars into the coffers of the state. Except as far as I know, it doesn't go into the consolidated fund. It's a special fund under the hand of the president of the day. In this instance, it might be Tiffin, it might be the presidents, or it might be the Tiffin vice president. That was an aside. And since you're talking about who lining up for what, let me remind you that Nigel Hughes just yesterday reminded us on the same program, the video I played, of the modus operandi of the PPP. It is something that I've been saying to you guys all the time, and it is something I will continue to say. And every time somebody like Nigel Hughes and so on says it, I will remind you that it was said. The PPP and their friends and families and favorites are involved in insider trading in this country. Insider trading, it's illegal. In other democracies, when people are caught doing insider trading and involved in nepotism and so on, they face jail time. Name and shame, jail time and so on. In Guyana, no, it's business as usual. So Nigel tells us that before leaving office, the PPP gave out 1 set of oil blocks, apart from those that they gave out to the foreign nationals. They gave to Indo-Guyanese. And Indo-Guyanese were able to use those oil blocks to marshal big money. Just by having what I will call a title to an oil block, you're able to go and marshal big money, hundreds of millions of US dollars. Without spending 1 dime on exploration or quote-unquote development of those oil blocks. They were able to go and negotiate and attract hundreds of millions of US dollars, which they in turn could use as capital to do all kinds of things and give them an unfair advantage in this society economically. What did Guyanese get? Not even an inch. Not even a drop of oil, much less an entire oil block. So they didn't have anything to leverage to attract millions of US dollars to use as capital for anything. And so when you're coming to your conclusions, keep these things in mind. When we say your government is racist and it's vindictive and it's oppressive and it is channeling its oppression in one direction, understand. That's the evidence available to you. So if our Guyanese lining up for cash grant and handout, they're entitled to it, number 1. And number 2, your racist and oppressive government forcing them to line up for it. Because if they level the playing field and empower everyone, or give everybody an opportunity to be fairly empowered, then one set of people will not remain at the bottom of the social ladder according to Chedi Jagan, and the others climbing the pinnacle through corruption and nepotism. Okay? I'm still responding to people this morning. Dan Paul, I crazy, or you crazy. Aaron Dan Paul. I've seen this guy before on my program. I want to believe I know him in person. Think he might be in the music business. But whoever Dan Paul is, check around home, Dan Paul. Look around the home, and you're going to see craziness. Because they say you always drink the rum and cuss one another and abuse your elders. There's the craziness there, Dan Paul. Not here. You see why y'all can't deal with the facts that is being presented. Facts that are being presented. You attack the messenger. Like I said, usually this messenger does respond. This messenger ain't dumb. This messenger ain't dumb, and nobody pulling the strings of this messenger like your presidents. Not another one to respond to. Rashid Mohammed. Oh, it's Rashid again. Well, this time Rashid is going to get blocked. You people, all the PNC are so effing evil and full of it. I feel to do the same thing to you. What you are preaching, all are evil people and don't realize it. Evil lies in your heart, Rashid. It lies in Freedom House, Rashid. It lies in the mind, the body, and soul of your vice president and others. And since this is strike 2, you are gone. As I said, there's our chucking it this morning. Good riddance of bad rubbish. Good. Now let us talk about my topic for this morning. Public unaccountability. I've been dealing with that all the time anyhow. Public unaccountability. We live in a society where public officials do not believe that they are accountable to the citizens. And the behavior of the citizens appear to give public officials the right to misbehave and to behave as though they are not accountable. To citizens. The longer we accept it, the longer we tolerate it, the worse the abuses will be. I'll tell you all some stories. Before I go to that story, let me tell you this. I noticed the vendors on the seawall, Kitty Kingston seawall area, have been served eviction notices. I told you it was coming. I knew it was coming. I ain't an Obia man. I don't see far. I ain't clairvoyant, as they say. But I'm rational. I knew it was coming. They started from Kingston End and they were shifting everybody down. To build their fancy kiosks and so on, double deck and so on, skyline and so on, for their rich friends and cronies. And the ordinary man, the working poor, was being shifted down. Your stands are like shanty town. They're not high end. So we're shifting you all towards the Kitty Pump Station. We're shifting you all. But guess what? Over time, more and more big shots want stands, or kiosks as they call them. More and more big shots want to be on the boardwalk doing business. And so there's more demand for space. And who will suffer? The ordinary man, the working poor. Those who eke out their living by selling something on the seawall, day in, day out, or on weekends only. And so since they don't have the resources to build shiny stands and shiny establishments and so on, they must be evicted. They must be removed from where they have been plying their trade, sometimes for decades, ahead of the newly rich. Ahead of the newly rich, they were there. They started that, as we like to say, they built that shit. But now what is happening? They're being forced out. And you know what? Nobody is holding public officials responsible. Nobody is holding public officials accountable. Nobody is standing up to them and say like, Jack. You all know the song? Jack don't want me to bathe on my beach. Jack. Nobody is pushing back and saying, hey, my mama been here, my daddy been here, and right here is where I'm going to stay. Nobody is fighting back. Everybody is groaning. How long they've been there? How long they've been selling there? How them mama sell them, send them to school? How them sell them in the school? But now these people want to remove them. And nobody's fighting with and for them so that they can maintain their presence. Nobody's holding public officials accountable. What is the criteria for being able to occupy a spot there and do business? What is the criteria? You only have to be a friend and colleague of the PPP? Nobody's asking that. But everybody's screaming and groaning. And by weekend or month end, the working poor has been shifted out of their mere existence once more. I have some ideas of some of the things that should be happening, but I can't say them here. They're going to say inciting violence and destruction. But I think there are many ways you can hold them accountable. And who don't want to be responsive to your cries as poor people should simply feel the heat. They say in Jamaica, when the Chinese lock off a section of the beach and build a hotel, them Jamaicans burn it down. There are lots of examples around the Caribbean and around the world that Guyanese should take in resisting this recent act of bullyism and discrimination and oppression. Go search the internet. Make Google your friend. Go search TikTok. Check Reels. And you're going to see how the Jamaicans and other Caribbean nationals dealt with situations like those. We must hold public officials accountable at all times. Until we are prepared to do that, nothing will change. And there's evidence that when you hold public officials accountable and you're steadfast in doing that, it works. It works. I like to talk about sideline because it's a good example of what activism brings. You know, when I was highlighting the poor state of sideline, the impossible state of sideline, they got a concrete road now. You know, when they were building the 4 feet bridge across the burial ground or to the burial ground, my activism, they got a 5 feet bridge now. It ain't the biggest, but it increased in size. When the contractor was digging the trench scanner to build up the parapet, I spoke about it. My neighbor made some calls. Today, the contractor brought in last week, he had to truck in earth to build up the parapet. So they left the trench scanner alone. Activism makes a difference.
I'm going to tell you another story about activism and holding public officials accountable. Last week, I attended a meeting at a certain NDC, the Able Democratic Council. Why did I go to the meeting? Why did I go to the meeting? I went to the meeting because for weeks, months, members of a particular co-op society, a land development co-op society, a housing co-op society, were submitting their plans to that NDC, and the NDC was refusing to approve those building plans, where they claimed that it had to do authentication, it had to go to the Ministry of Housing to authenticate documents. And it was dragging its feet. Well, last week I turned up at the meeting as an interested and concerned party. And I put on my camera because I wanted to record the meeting, so I can have on record for myself the lame excuses being made by the operatives at this council who are determined to hamper progress on the part of the cooperators. You know what happened? The police were called to get me out of the meeting. The chairman and councillors objected to me videoing the meeting. I had to remind them that it was a public meeting and they were public officials and I didn't need their permission to record. And so they called in the police. And the police came. And I had to say to the police that I had a right to be at that meeting. I'm a resident of the NDC. I have legitimate reason for being at that meeting. And I was recording for my own record. And the police gave me two options. The police said, according to the instructions of the sergeant, a sergeant I will name eventually, a sergeant that is known for corruption and bribe taking at that particular police station. A sergeant that I will bring to the public's attention eventually. I'm gathering the facts, don't worry. A sergeant that was very arrogant in giving instructions to the ranks of the police force that was sent to remove me from the meeting. Tell that effing man I said he get his sons out the people's sons a meeting. Powerful public official, unaccountable public official, but I am going to make you accountable, sir. Back to the main story. So the police gave me two options. He said you can stay at the meeting, but you have to stop recording. But if you choose to continue recording, you will be removed from the meeting. Well, here, I love a good challenge. The police by now know that I'm not afraid of being locked up. And so I said to the policeman, I will stay at the meeting and I will continue to record, and you can't remove me from here. You can't remove me from here. The only way you are going to have the right to remove me from here is if I'm guilty of a breach. And you will have to show me the breach that I'm guilty of. Because the only way you're moving me from this meeting is that you're going to arrest me. You will have to arrest me because I'm not moving from this meeting willingly. I have a legitimate right to be here. And I am recording on my personal phone, my mobile phone, for my own records. Note taking has changed over the years. We're doing digital now. And so Mr. Police, who thinks he knows it all, I guess came to his senses after contacting his seniors.
And Mr. Police went outside and Mr. Police sat on his motorcycle, maybe waiting for a breach to occur. I wasn't there to create a breach of the peace. I was there to look after my legitimate business. But I was there to hold public officials accountable. And public officials are afraid of being held accountable. Why? Why is it a public official is afraid to be on camera or on record as saying certain things and doing certain things? You know why? Because they know that they are engaged in wrongdoing. And no public officials want to be caught on tape doing the wrong thing. And I'm encouraging citizens, it's one of the ways to hold public officials accountable and stop the unaccountability. Take out your cameras, take out your phones, record them, let them know you're recording. Don't do it clandestinely. Don't hide and record. Put it up in their face. What you say? I didn't get you clearly what you said. That's how you hold public officials accountable. And so when they come to the seawall to tell you you have to remove, take out your phone. Why do I have to remove? Who gave the order for my removal? What do I have to do to get permission to remain here? Hold them accountable. Use your smartphone. Smartphone is not only for TikTok and listen to lawlessness and crassness hold it on social media. Let us together hold public officials accountable. There's too much unaccountability. So here are councillors of this NDC sitting around the table and saying, you can't record us. You are not allowed to record in this meeting. You know what they did? To avoid scrutiny? You wouldn't believe it. There are scores of people out there in that meeting space waiting for the NDC to address their matters. Matters of varying concerns and urgencies. But the chairman and councillors of that particular NDC believed that it was best to be self-serving. And what did they do? Adjourn the meeting. They were not prepared to have the meeting under the eyes of someone who was ready to hold them accountable. No, they couldn't do that. They couldn't do it. Let us inconvenience all of these taxpayers who are here to transact business with the NDC. Let us inconvenience all of them because this one man is determined that he will take a record of the meeting. No. We have to adjourn this meeting. We have to cancel this meeting. We have to set this meeting for a new date. What happened? All the residents who were there to transact their businesses stood by, idly by, quietly by like sheep. They didn't even bleat. They didn't even say a word in objection. And so the demigods that were sitting around that table at that NDC had their way. But I got news to them. I'll be there again and again and again until I am satisfied that they're doing the right thing. And matters of my personal interest are dealt with fairly. So I don't know how many more meetings they want to adjourn. I don't know how many meetings they want to cancel. I don't know how many other times they can call the police. But I'm prepared to hold them accountable. I hope, because I know people know where I'm talking about. I hope taxpayers in that particular local government area will join me in holding them accountable. I hope cooperators in that particular area whose plans they are stymieing will hold them accountable. And I hope there will be a national spirit to hold public officials accountable. Don't be coward. Don't be scared. The police will turn up because the police is being used like the floor mat of the PPP. The police is taking political instructions, so they will call them and they will turn up. But you must stand your ground, and you must let them show you on the chapter 2801 or whichever one it is, where it says that a resident can't attend an NDC meeting and record the proceedings. Let them show you that. Let them show you where it is you're committing a breach of the peace because you insist on recording the meeting for your personal records. Don't be coward because somebody shopping blue and black and his face screwed and a gun to the waist or radio in your hand. Don't be coward. Stand your ground. Hold them accountable. Because that is what we want. Accountable public officials. Hold them accountable. Only until we decide to hold them accountable will we get better governance and we will get equity and justice in this society. Join the campaign. Put an end to this public unaccountability. Over at Buxton Falls, NDC, I'm calling this one name now. Over at Buxton Falls, NDC, I want to know what they're doing about the Chinese business and encumbering the trench. We got some rains. Later in the day, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get a video to see the effect of the narrowing of the trench that the Chinese have breached. Yes, I'll be doing that. Because it would appear as though the NDC chairman and councillors at Buxton Falls are toothless. Toothless. And I wonder what the PHI has done about this situation. Because they're the ones with the authority for righting the wrongs. I wonder if they're behaving like the EPA. I'll continue to monitor that situation and I will continue to make it public. Name and shame. That's the game. Before I go to the lines, yesterday I told you about Saddam Hussein's plan for CPC. Yes. Yesterday I told you about Saddam Hussein's plan for CPC. And I told you all was not well at CPC. I was directed a letter in Starbuck News. A letter I want to share with you. The letter writer declared CPC a battleground. CPC has become a battleground among key decision makers. I will share this letter with you, but before I go on, I want you to listen to this letter as I read, and I want you to recognize, listen to where you will find it. How the PPP and the acolytes do window dressing. I'm explaining before I go into this letter. The current principal of CPC, when the vacancy was advertised, 2 persons applied. 2 persons applied. The current principal proved to be more qualified or more suitable for the job. and therefore was given the job. The other person who applied did not get the job as principal. But the PPP, in their usual way of micromanaging, brought that person to CPC in another role, superseding the principal that was more qualified to get the job in the first instance. Listen to the letter. That's just one point I want to bring to your attention before I read the letter. I want you to listen for the others. Dear editor, the recently concluded Sir Potter College of Education graduation, the numerous complaints pre and post graduation made by the students and were posted on the infamous Melly Mel's Facebook page have caused quite a stir in the education sector. These complaints drew diverse views and perspectives from educators at varying levels in the education system. One of the themes threaded through these responses was the deep concern for the seemingly eroding standards of operations at CPC, an institution that has served Guyana since 1928 and has produced educators par excellence. Permit me, editor, to express my views as an educator and the proud product of this noble institution on the current situation at CPC. In my estimation, CPC is likely embroiled in a tug-of-war among individuals invested with the power to make significant systemic changes at the institution. I will not use this space to address the examination process, examination results, and the graduation ceremony. However, I will use this space to address two issues: management and staffing at the college. On the issue of management, I will cite two individuals' descriptions and or perspectives. According to the Minister of Education, Kuyamani Chand, CPC is, quote, run independently with Noella Joseph as the principal, end quote, of the institution. Here are a few questions to consider. Is Ms. Joseph, as the principal, solely responsible for managing the college? Is Ms. Joseph a part of a team that manages the institution? CPC is managed independently from what? The apparent ambiguity, whether intentional or accidental, in this statement was cleared up by the Chief Education Officer's comprehensive description. In his October 26, 2023 letter to the editor of Starbuck News, the CEO said that CPC is, quote, managed independently with broad guidelines and policies from the Central Ministry through its Education Systems Committee, of which the principal is a member, end quote. He further stated that, quote, the principal functions as the day-to-day manager of CPC, provides a supervision and direction for the efficient functioning of CPC, and is responsible for the administration of the college's campus and off-campus centers, end quote. Is the principal given the scope to make these day-to-day decisions? Or is her title just a rubber stamp? Based on my investigations, Dr. Tamashwar Boudou, the, quote, nameless individual, end quote, Errol London alluded to in his October 25th letter to the editor, seems to be one of the key decision makers for the administration of the college. Dr. Boudou, a full-time lecturer in the Faculty of Education and Humanities at the University of Ghana, was contracted by the Ministry of Education to head the quality assurance team to evaluate the operations at CPC. Other members of the team are Ms. Bibi Ali, Dr. Odin, and his wife, Miss Odin. This quality assurance evaluation stint seems to be perpetual. Dr. Boudou has since been issuing instructions and directives through the vice principal responsible for curriculum and instructions, who filters these down to the staff. sidelining the principal on numerous occasions. Additionally, Dr. Budu's directives sometimes contradicts those issued by the CEO, another key decision maker for the college. This leaves staff and students confused, frustrated, and bewildered. How can an institution progress under such divided management? Are the policymakers from Central Ministry trying to present Ms. Joseph as incompetent and not deserving of the position? Is Dr. Budu trying to live out his dream vicariously of becoming the principal at CPC? Yes, he was the only other applicant for the position besides Ms. Joseph. Moreover, this, quote, new, end quote, managerial structure flouts the standard operation procedures of the college. Ms. Joseph, the principal of CPC, invested with the power to manage the day-to-day affairs of the college, was instructed to concede to Dr. Budu, the evaluator and the minister's representative. Failure to comply with Dr. Budu's directives and mandates is tantamount to insubordination. Another administrative position, director of CPC, was inserted into the organizational structure of CPC. Note, Dr. Julie Jailal, who was contracted to hold that position, was first introduced to the staff as a consultant with special responsibility to reform the curriculum. Dr. Jailal was later given the position of Deputy Director of NSERT with direct responsibility for CPC. Note, the CEO has or had, I don't even know which tense to use, direct responsibility for CPC. So I'm confused as much as the CPC staff and other educators are confused. What exactly is Dr. Jailal's position? Curriculum Specialist Consultant, Deputy Director of NSERT with direct responsibility for CPC, or Director of CPC? In my estimation, with all these illegal intrusions into the managerial structure of CPC, Ms. Joseph has therefore been lulled into palpable, suffocating silence. Efficient management of any institution or organization thrives on effective communication and collaboration. For communication to be effective, information must upward, downward, or lateral direction without breaking the chain of command. This means that every player in the institution must be cognizant of the managerial structure of the institution, must know their position in that managerial structure, and must understand their roles and responsibilities. All administrators should be more professional and respectful in their varied roles and work collaboratively to create a better institution. Editor, I'd like to direct your attention to staffing issues at CPC. For over a decade, CPC was short-staffed. The college administration made several requests to the Ministry of Education to fill the vacancies in the various departments so that the college can carry out its mandate efficiently and effectively. However, these requests went unheeded. This problem exacerbated with the influx of teacher trainees during the 2021-2023 intake. Additionally, the majority of staff members in administrative positions were acting in those positions for 5 to 7 years. To address these issues, the Ministry of Education published a list of vacancies on March 20, 2023. The application process was severely flawed. However, I do not have time to delve into this issue. These were the outcomes of the application process. 1, some staff members who were acting in administrative positions were not appointed to those positions, although they were experienced and qualified. Only the principal, Ms. Noella Joseph, and Vice Principal Development, Ms. Tamsin Henry, were duly appointed to those positions. 2, new positions were created to accommodate some staff members. These positions are Registrar, Vice Principal Assessment, Senior Lecturer Literacy, Senior Lecturer Curriculum, with responsibility for technical vocational education, TVET. Editor, please note that due process was not followed to adopt these new positions into the organizational structure of the college. All these new positions are therefore illegal. 3,
Morning, neighbor, morning.
Morning, neighbor, morning. I'm not like me conniving, morning. Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. It is 18 minutes past the 7 o'clock hour on the 24th day of April in the year 2024. I am your host, Kiraki Amsterdam. Welcome to the program. How you been? How was your yesterday? How is your today going so far? How was your last night? What did you achieve yesterday? Do you think you have advanced your position, as we might say? Are you in a better place from yesterday to today? What are you proposing to do that will make a difference in your society, in your community, in your home today? This one is for all the people that were removed from the PTC wall area. Mighty Gabby. It's Wednesday.
But nowadays, that is the horror. If I only venture down by the shore, police telling me I can't be no more. Cause Jack don't want me to bed on my beach. Jack, tell them to kick me out of reach. Jack, tell them I will never make the grade. Strength and security, build barricade. That can happen here
in this country.
I want Jack to know that the bitch belongs to me. That can happen here over my dead body. Tell Jack that I say that the bitch belongs to me. Look, that bitch is mine. I could pay anytime. Despite what he said, I can pay anyway. That bitch is mine. I could pay anytime. Despite what he said, I can pay anyway. Tourism vital, I can't deny, but can't mean more than I and I. My naval strength, very right here, but a tourist one could be anywhere. Yes, Jack, don't want me to bed on my beach. Jack, tell them to kick me out of reach. Jack, tell them I will never make the grade. Strength and security, build barricade.
Wanajel doesn't want the vendors on the beach. Hey, the PPP doesn't want the vendors on the beach. Dr. Hines, welcome to the program. It is another Wednesday. How are you doing? Dr. Hines, can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
Your volume is low, though.
My volume is low.
Yes, it's a bit better now.
Well, my volume is 100%.
Good. Now you're sounding like you're 100%. I guess you had something stuck in your throat.
No.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing? Wagwan.
All right.
Another week. As I say, another day on the battlefield. A lot has been happening. In a week that a lot doesn't happen in this country. So we have a lot of things to talk about. I think the most topical now might be Ali's visit to Brooklyn. Or is it Brooklyn, the US? As I say, in Borg's backyard. I see a lot of people are making a lot of cries about being betrayed and so on, and the black cause being betrayed. I'm sure you've seen the visit. I'm sure you've heard a lot being said. What are your thoughts on what transpired here?
Well, I mean, truthfully, I did not pay much attention to it until yesterday on my program when people were talking about some boycott of businesses, and I spoke to a couple of people on the ground there and got a sense of exactly what happened. And I don't know, look, there are always going to be people who will behave in that way. There's always been this fight for yourself approach. If you can't beat them, join them approach on the part of African Guyanese. And I suppose it happens among Indians too whenever the PPP is not in office. And people go down that route. And I suppose, that's what happened there. I just think that one has to roll over with those things and move on, because it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. There's always been an individualistic instinct among our people, and nothing's wrong with that. One has to balance the individualistic instinct with the collective instinct, because whenever we have been oppressed, it has always been as a group. And whenever we have won anything big, it has always been as a group. It doesn't mean that the individual is not important. The individual is extremely important. But sometimes the individualistic instinct takes over in sections of the community. And of course, the PPP takes advantage of it. They know it's there, and they dangle money, and some people just like to be with the big ones. I mean, I guarantee you that some of those people were parading there with Irfan Ali. If tomorrow the government changes and Aubrey Norton becomes the president, those people are going to be there. There are some people who are just like that, I think it's left to the people on the ground in Brooklyn to determine how they're going to move on that issue. The optics certainly didn't look good. Here is a time when the international community is pointing to the way in which the PPP is using the state to discriminate against African Guyanese, that you have African Guyanese in the diaspora who are coddling the head of that party and government. And it's not good optics. And then the man leaves them there and comes back to Guyana and, is breaking down the stalls of their brothers and sisters in the seawall. I think we just have to continue to do what we're doing and just thank God that those people do not represent the majority in the community. African Guyanese are politically, they are very manly people. You have to really push them hard for them to behave in a unmanly way politically. They may not vote for you, they may not necessarily like you politically, but they're not going to insult you. And I think Irfan Ali was given a welcome by some people, and I would not make too heavy a weather of it, but it's something to note because it's not going to stop. It's going to continue so long as the PPPs in office. They are going to deliberately try to exploit that weakness in the community.
Look, guys, you mentioned the fight for self attitude, the individualism, the I got to eat a food attitude. When the delegation from Ghana went to the UN forum there for the International Decade of People of African Descent, we would have seen some amount of that. I know that even prior to that forum, you've had what I would want to call some people breaking away from Ipadaji and joining with the PPP the government to attempt to discredit and I dare say destroy Ipadaji. I'm not about calling names this morning, but most of the viewers would know, for example, a certain Rastaman. We have heard of the spoiler. Then we see another Rastaman who's been on the who went along with the government's delegation, trying to discredit Ipadaji. We're seeing now this event unfolding in the US there. Many are ascribing it all to the effort to convince the world that here the PPP is not as discriminatory as these African Guyanese are saying, and these African Guyanese organizations are saying. How inimical, how much more pressure do these people who are acting an individualistic fight for self-will put those of us who are highlighting the ills of the government and really trying to get them to right the wrongs against African Guyanese?
Well, yes, like I said, the optics are not good, but I would not think that they would have damaged the struggle, because I think they represent a minority, but it's there, and the effect it could have is that more people could go along with that tendency. But I don't think that it damages the struggle against the government. It's certainly not good optics. But like I said, I would not ascribe too much to it, because it's going to continue. If we think it's going to stop, it's not going to stop, because like I said, the PPP is deliberately fanning those flames, deliberately going into the Black communities and taking advantage of the weakness of some elements in the community. We saw them use it during the apartheid era. I mean, they would go into the Black communities and they would pick out people and get them to go against the struggle and so on, you know. So I wouldn't ascribe more to it than meets the eye. And like I said, the reason is that it's not going to stop. And if we're going to spend a lot of energy on that, we will have to do it a lot. And I think the energies are better spent in other areas.
You mentioned it being done in the apartheid era. As I reflected the other day, and I was saying to some viewers, pre-emancipation and even post-slavery, a lot of sacrifices were made by those who were fighting for freedom. Even in South Africa, where the ANC and others were fighting apartheid, what I would want to say, condign action was taken against those who were seen as inimical to the struggle. We have been hearing calls for boycott, this business, boycott that person, and so on. You think that will help to change anything?
Well, I don't know. I am very careful about the boycott thing, because I'm saying we have to be very careful that business people who felt that you know, they have to be nice and so forth, may not necessarily embrace the president and the PPP. And you know, if one calls for a boycott of their business, you know, they could be innocent. I understand there is one or two business people who were part of the planning of the thing, but a lot of the other businesses were caught off guard, so to speak. So one, you know, has to be very careful about boycotting. But like I said, that is a matter for the people in Brooklyn. I would not pronounce on it.
Thank you. I mean, while we're having the president lauding the owners of those businesses in the US, within hours of him lauding those businesses and I would say, black achievement in the US on the business front. We received news of those people who've been plying their trade on the seawall here for months, being given very short notice to destroy, to dismantle the operations on the seawall and have them removed. Callousness, not afraid of any repercussion?
I don't think so. I think the PPP is afraid of repercussions. They're afraid of repercussions. Look at the way they behave when you know, the United Nations Human Rights Committee, and then last week, the Forum for the Decade of African People, they responded viciously. So they're afraid of repercussions. They're afraid of repercussions. I don't think they're not afraid of repercussions.
All right, let's
But no, I'm not finished.
Okay.
I'm not finished. See, what we have to understand is the way in which policies embraced by the government have uneven consequences. So clearly the government is on this business of using the public space as part of what it calls a developmental program, building highways and other infrastructure. And once you embark on that kind of infrastructural policy in a place like Guyana, you will have to displace people. You'll have to displace people. The displacing of people will invariably have consequences for poor people. Consequences for poor people, because the people who are hustling at the corner of the streets and the seawalls and thing are generally poor people who can't afford stores in the business center of Georgetown and so on. So they set up their businesses at the street corner. So when you are embarking on this infrastructural development, you invariably will collide with those people, and you will have to move those people. And the people generally don't move anywhere in the world. They put up a fight, and then the government uses force to remove them. We saw that in Moko, we saw it in Mackenzie, we saw it in front of the hospital. We saw it, the attempt to do so at Plaisance. Now we're seeing it here. We're seeing it with the people with the Harbor Bridge and so forth. So it's a trend. However, like I said, this thing has consequences. You'll have to remove people who are hustling a livelihood. And the people who are hustling a livelihood are generally poor people. And for the most part, in the urban areas, the urban center, they're generally Black people, because Black people live in the urban areas, in Mackenzie and in Georgetown, and of course we saw at Moko, and so you are going to have consequences, class consequences and ethnic consequences. If you notice on the East Coast, they're having meetings in some communities. I saw a meeting in Commons Lodge or Ogle recently, where they're talking to people and apparently giving them options or assuring them that they're not going to take their lands. No, if their lands are taken, they will be compensated. And I think that meeting was somewhere in industry, Ogle area. So you're seeing that some communities are treated with some consideration and respect by the state, which they're supposed to do. But when it comes to like the seawall, you turn up at 3 o'clock one afternoon and tell people they gotta start moving the next day. It's the way in which the government is going about this whole policy of removal of people from the public space to accommodate the infrastructure drive. And they're first of all, if you're removing people, you're affecting their livelihood. And secondly, you want to treat them with some respect, as you're doing in some communities on the East Coast. Treat people with respect, go in, talk to them, reason with them, and help them to find alternatives. The thing about the seawall is that there's a captive clientele there. People go to the seawall. Guyana is a seawall place. On Sunday nights and so on, people go there, and it's a place where you can make a decent living. So when you're removing people from there, where are you going to put them? You're going to put them at a place where people don't congregate. It don't make business sense. You see? So the government program of infrastructural development is invariably going to bring it in collision with people who make a living at the street corner and in those public spaces that they are going to want to utilize. And it's going to invariably affect poor people, for the most part, Black people, because these things are in the urban area, the urban centers. And it's going to have ethnic consequences. You know, you have to think these things through, and you have to look at the consequences of these actions. This government doesn't plan, and it feels that when it comes to African people, it can do what it likes, you know? And I don't think they're fearful of consequences, because if people retaliate, they're going to say, look, they're hooligans, they're violent people, you know? This is what their leaders has been preaching to them. They can't exist in a state of freedom. They cannot exist in a democracy. They're violent. And then when they don't react, then you say, look, they're supporting us. You know, so it's not that they're afraid of consequences. They've worked this stuff out. They've worked it out.
You know, Dr. Hines, I understand the argument of infrastructural development in particular. But when you look at what's happening on the seawall there, I think it's a clear case of discrimination, nepotism, oppressiveness, because I've been pointing out this issue for quite a while now. The quote-unquote First Lady projects, in the first instance, remove vendors from the area of the Kingston seawall, and they put up from Kingston seawall all the way perhaps to Camp Street, or just in the vicinity, the bandstand. What people would call nice, high-class, expensive, well-to-do structures, concrete structures, double-deck structures, and those spots, as we usually see, if you were to look, were most likely given to the friends and associates, affiliates of the government and the First Lady and so on. Big shots. There's no question about that when you look at the investment. And those vendors who were removed from that area had to go further down, like from Camp Street towards the Kitty Sea Kitty Pump Station and so on. And they had gotten permission from the Ministry of public infrastructure, sea defense board, whatever, to continue to ply their trade there. And so what is happening in my estimation right now is that there are more and more demands for space by the friends and affiliates of the PPP to continue to put up the high-end structures. And so in actuality, what they're doing is forcing the smaller man who has been there for decades out of the area from, I would say, an enterprise area that they have created, that they have developed. And so this, in my mind, has nothing to do really with infrastructure development. Let me make a quick comparison. When the coalition was in office, the coalition developed the, I think that might be Wakanam or Supanam riverfront there, because people were vending there. The conditions weren't ideal, and the coalition went there and they created a boardwalk, and they developed that entire area, including building good-looking structures and leasing them or handing them over back to the very people who are operating there in the first place. That is how governments behave, right? Governments that don't intend to be oppressive and self-serving to their affiliates. So it's not about, in my mind, it's not about infrastructural development. It's about grabbing again. It's about economic oppression, as Lincoln would say, economic genocide.
No, but yeah, we're not saying anything different. What you're calling oppression is the consequence of policy. See, you have to understand how oppressors operate. An oppressor don't get up and say, I'm going to oppress you. You know, look, I wake up this morning and I feel like oppressing some black people. No. They come up with arguments and they come up with policies. And the policies then have class discrimination that comes with them, or race discrimination that comes with them. But you see, that is where we're talking about structural racism. That the racism is not about an individual saying, I want to oppress some black people. It's that I am saying, look, I am on the road to develop Guyana. And development for us means infrastructure, right? We're going to build new roads and so forth. But when you're building these roads, they have consequences for people who are selling at the side of the road. And the people who are selling at the side of the road are generally poor people. And like I said, in the urban center, they're generally black people. So the oppression is the consequence of the policy. You know, so that, you see, racism is not an individual construct. The individual construct is prejudice. You know, I don't like red people. I don't like the color red. I don't like short people. You know, individuals have their individual prejudices. And that's a human thing. But when that individual who has a prejudice then uses the institutions of power to turn their prejudices into policy, you're moving from prejudice to racism, right? So the point we are trying to make here is a lot of the racial discrimination is part of PPP's. They've turned it into policy. When you listen to Jack Dio talk about public servants not being productive workers, they don't produce anything. No, that's an economic argument. Any economist will tell you that that's a view. That's a view that some workers, they provide services, and those services are not equal to anything tangible. All right? So what the PPP does is that it takes a viewpoint like that, a worldview like that, and then implements it in Guyana. But who are the majority of public servants that, according to them, do not produce anything tangible and therefore do not deserve as high wages as other workers? They're generally Africans. And so therefore, this policy arises out of a viewpoint, has ethnic and racial consequences in Guyana. So what I'm trying to do is, I'm not trying to say it's not oppression. It is oppression. I agree with you. But I'm saying what we have to understand is that the oppression is not simply of an individual. The oppression is part of the policy, is part of the system, is part of the institution. So when the PPP goes, that system and those institutions remain there. And one of the things the coalition might have been guilty of in its first term, and hopefully if it gets another term, that it will dismantle the systematic and programmatic. I noticed Henry Jeffrey in his column this past weekend talks about the programmatic discrimination of Black people. And you see, this is where we have to take the argument, because that's where the BT biting them. You see, if you say they're racist, how they dismiss that? How do you know that? You're in my head. But when we point to your policies, and then you will say, but my policies are colorblind. We say, well, look at the consequences that it has on one color. You see? So they do not want us to make the argument of policies, and all those policies have racial consequences in a place like Guyana. So we are not disagreeing, except that I am arguing that what we are seeing is the way the PPP is using economic policy as a form of oppression.
Thank you. I see a lot of people, PPP representatives as usual, are making an argument that, or are making arguments that the issue is not defending the issue is permanent structures against mobile versus immobile structures and so on. And yes, the government is offering to relocate them. I think you made a point, Dr. Hines. Relocate them to where? Relocate them to where the business is less lucrative. And how is it okay for persons who are aligned, associated with quote unquote the First Lady project to have access to immobile structures, permanent structures? Because if you look at those structures that are built from the Kingston Seawall coming all the way back to somewhere in the vicinity of the bandstand, they are permanent structures, right? They are permanent structures. So what is the I want to say difference? Why, if you are associated with the First Lady, you can get permanent structure, but if you are an individual, you are independent, you're growing a business, you cannot have a permanent structure. No, I'm not arguing that permanent structures should be out there, but I'm saying that the standard for one set of people must be the standard for the other set of people. Everybody must have equal standards. Good. Let me tell you what is the harm or the disadvantage of permanent versus temporary structures. If you have a permanent structure that can be shuttered at nights or shuttered all day to secure your stuff, you can grow a business. You can grow a business. But if you have a structure that you have to deconstruct every day and every night, there is only so much that you can stock inside because of the capacity to basically break and build every day, right? And so that is, in my mind, another tactic of the oppressors to keep a certain people oppressed and oppressed and at the bottom of the social ladder, right? I want to make that my last comment on this matter, unless Dr. Hines has something else to say about it.
No,
Good. So I want us to turn to the recent ruling, Dr. Hines, the rulings of Justice Sandra Kissoon in the teachers union versus Ministry of Education with GTUC as an interesting party. That case there, we've seen the ruling which says that the government can't deduct people's pay if they're striking legitimately. The government cannot stop the union shop. I think that's what the agreement is called in terms of deducting union dues on behalf of the union. And we're seeing the Attorney General saying that this is a recipe for chaos. You're going to get people striking willy-nilly, and the government will have to pay them, and rulings like these can cause the overthrow of government and so on. Your reaction to the rulings, the importance of that ruling for labor, not only in Guyana but throughout the Caribbean, the Commonwealth, and the reactions of government is that they will appeal to the CCJ, etc.
Well, I'm going to use that V word, victory. It was a victory for the Guyana Teachers Union and their members. They got the court to say that it's unconstitutional to deduct their wages because they went on strike, and that it was spitefulness on the part of the government to stop withholding dues for a legitimate strike. But teachers are on a legitimate strike. So it was a victory for the teachers union and their membership. And I think the tactical move by the union when it called off the strike, I think has paid off in the end. A lot of teachers and a lot of, on this program, people are angry. In fact, people say the teachers lost and so forth. But by obeying the court and not offending the court, I think tactically it paid off for the teachers. Clearly, the court was offended by the behavior of the CEO. Clearly, the court is offended by the behavior of the executive government. Clearly, the court was offended by the chief labor officer. Clearly, the attempt to disrespect the court. And I'm very glad the teachers did not go down that road. You know, so in the end, it paid off for the teachers. In the end, it paid off for the teachers. And they were able to win a very important victory. A lot of teachers were fearful that their monies would have been taken out. They went out there, they strike, but even then, they were concerned that this little money that they're making, that the government is going to take it away. And I think it had consequences for the resumption of the strike. If the court did not rule in the way it ruled here, it would have been hard to get the teachers to go back on strike. If the court had said it was legitimate to take out their money, you're not going to get teachers or anybody to go back on strike easily. All right? So it's a tremendous victory for the teachers and the union and for the morale of the teachers. A victory for labor, because I think for the first time the court has pronounced on the right to strike, and the court has made it very clear what is a legitimate strike and what is not a legitimate strike. The court said very clearly that the teachers' union exhausted all avenues. The court said very clearly that there was a dereliction of duty on the part of the chief labor officer. And so therefore, having exhausted all attempts to get the government to sit down and to engage in collective bargaining, the strike then become a last resort. The court is saying that if a strike is first resort, it's not a legitimate strike, and the no work, no pay principle will kick in then. But the court has clearly said that when the strike weapon is used as a last resort, then the strike becomes legitimate and the no work, no pay principle does not kick in. So Nandalal is talking arrant nonsense. And one of the things that gets me so angry is that these people believe that we didn't go to school. I mean, I just resent people talking in that way to obviously people who are bright. You know, the court says very clearly that a strike that is a last resort, when the workers exhaust all avenues and they use the strike as a last resort, then the strike is legitimate and no pay, no work, no pay principle cannot kick in. The flip side of that is that if workers go on strike as a first resort, then the principle of no work, no pay will kick in. Nandalal thinks people, Nandalal can't claim not to understand that. He understands that. But somehow they think that the rest of us are fools. You know, I grew up in a household where my auntie had a 6th standard education. But she made it very clear. I sent you to school not just to read and write, but also to ensure that people don't take their eyes and pass you and believe you're stupid. In our own words, in our own humble way, she was making the point that you're going to school so that you can think. And when you hear these people, you want to believe the thing that we are toads. We're not thinking people. And so the court is very clear. The court has set down the parameters of what is a legitimate strike and what is not a legitimate strike. Clear. And so it's a victory for labor. It is also a victory for the rule of law. Because clearly the executive government is violating both the letter and the spirit of the Constitution. The Constitution makes it legal to go on strike. And this government wants to kick around workers, wants to kick around the court. And the court has stood up as a co-equal branch of government and said we will not be kicked around. We invoke the principle of separation of powers in the first place. In the first place, separation of powers, that we are a separate branch, but we are a co-equal branch. But more than that, it invokes checks and balance, where it is the court has the authority under the Constitution to, first of all, decide whether the actions of the executive or the legislature are in line with the Constitution or not. The court has that power, and that is why many of us think that the judicial branches, although they're co-equal, the judicial branch, because of that judicial review, that is the power to tell the other two branches when they are not acting in accordance with the Constitution, that we think the judicial branch is the strongest branch of government. But more than that, the court has invoked the right to tell the executive to do its job. And in effect, when the court ordered the mediation, it was telling the executive, do your work. The executive decided to kick that aside. And the court is now telling the Ministry of Labor, which is a part of the executive arm of government, do your work. And the court has that power under judicial review. And the court has invoked that power. They're going to appeal. But unless they think that they own the Court of Appeal or own the CCJ, I don't know which higher court is going to overrule that ruling of Justice Kisu. I don't know which higher court in the world is going to upturn that ruling by Justice Kisu. What the government is doing here is that it is fighting teachers. Any reasonable government would have said, okay, we try a thing. And the court put on its foot. Let us take that as a way out. Say, okay, we don't agree with the ruling, but we are a government that believe in the rule of law and believe in the independence of the court. And so therefore, we are going to follow the court order. Teachers, come in, let's talk. Or let's go to conciliation and then arbitration. Take the way out. But the fact that this government is not doing that, and the fact that the government knows, they know that a higher court would be hard-pressed to overturn this ruling. Therefore, what they're doing is saying to these teachers, we are going to fight you. So we have a government that is fighting its citizens. It is using the power of the state to fight them. And again, who do those citizens look like? They look like me and you. We don't see them fighting the sugar workers in the way they're fighting public servants. And that is why I'm saying the consequences of the actions of this government are racial and racist. Even if they don't start off by saying, we intend to be racist towards black people, the consequence of their actions lead us there. So this area is about fighting the teachers, because you don't want to give the teachers victory, because in your head, the teachers taking lead up from the opposition. So if you give the teachers a victory, then you're giving the opposition a victory. This is how they head. This is how their head is working. And I'm saying, more power to you all. Go down the road, go down merry, go down brave. Go down brave. I, for one, I don't tell people which party they should like, join, vote for. That's not my business. That's the personal business. If they got black people who want to go vote for the PPP or join the PPP, that's their right. I know black people in the PPP, and I respect their right. A lot of them are in the PPP their whole life. And I have absolutely no problem with black people joining the PPP. But if a government is behaving towards black people the way this PPP government is behaving, then I think I will have to suggest to black people it's unhealthy to vote or join those people. Not because I think so, but because of what they are doing. Somebody, I think Miranda Brown or somebody yesterday on my program say, why do people like me think that we talk for all black people? And I had to say, I do not presume to talk for black people. Black people can talk for themselves. When they talk, some of you all going to be sorry when black people really begin to talk. So they don't need, I don't talk for black people. What I do is that I defend black dignity. What I do is that I defend black honor. What I do is that I stand up against black oppression, black discrimination. I stand up against injustice against black people. And like I said on my program, I earn the right to do that. I earn the right to do that because I've put my life at the service of poor people, black people, and all people of dignified standing. And even if I were presumptuous to say I speak for black people, there are some black people I would not speak for. Those who are dancing around and crawling on their bellies in Brooklyn, I don't speak for them. Miranda Brown and those black self-haters, if that Miranda is black, and I don't speak, and I wouldn't want to speak for them. I wouldn't want to speak for black people who don't believe in their own dignity, but are ready to impugn the dignity of other races. In other words, for me, I am not interested in black people who are anti-Indian. I am interested in black people who are pro-black. You're anti-Indian, that's your business. I don't feel I want to speak for you because I'm not interested in anti-Indianism. I'm interested in pro-blackness. That is to believe in your own identity, but not to use your identity to oppress others. And so therefore, I'm against a certain kind of anti-Indian blackness. I never subscribed to it, although if you ask a lot of Indian people, they will say David Hines is an anti-Indian racist. But I don't have any place in my praxis for anti-Indian blackness. It's useless. I am for pro-black. Love yourself. If you don't love yourself, there's no way you can love other people. And so therefore, my blackness is about a black conscious blackness. A conscious blackness, not an anti-Indian blackness. So even if I were presumptuous enough to say that I speak for black people, there's some black people I will never want to speak for.
Thank you. It's 10 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. And so where do we go from here in terms of government and labor relations?
Well, the government is going to appeal. Like I said, it's going to fight the teachers, it's going to fight the public servants. The matter is going to be held up in the court, and while it's held up in the court, the status quo remains. That is, the teachers are free to go on strike again if they want to. And therefore, the union has already done the protocols. It has written the government and said we are ready to talk.
Implications to labor in the wider version, public service in general, let's see.
Well, yes. I mean, what the teachers have won here, they won for all public servants.
And so,
the government has not been taking out dues to the public service union. And according to the court, it is strangling the lifeblood out of the union. And so now that action by the government since 1999 of not deducting union dues for the PSU, now that is put to bed. And the PSU can now go to court because there's no precedence.
And since the government has not been
the court order them, yes.
Since the government has not been engaging the unions in collective bargaining for quite some time, is it not legitimate and justifiable for all unions to strike to get the government to respect that? Especially given the ruling of the court?
Again, Brother Kadaki, the strike is your last resort.
Well, what I'm saying, let me clarify here, because I believe that all the unions, I'm talking, let me say specific, public service unions have gone through the processes and the government has been refusing over the years to engage them in collective bargaining, which means that they have done all that they can in terms of trying to get the government to collectively bargain with them. Does not give them, no, this ruling does not give them a right to use strike as a last resort to get the government to the table.
Of course. That is what the court has said, what is a legitimate and what is not a legitimate strike. But remember, each union has its own agreement with the government. And I mean, you have to exhaust, you have to go look to see what the agreement with the government says, and each union has to go through that process on its own, and then decide whether it wants to use a strike weapon. But I thought you were going to the point where you're asking if the unions cannot go to court and challenge the government's decision not to engage in collective bargaining. You see, the court here has ruled that if the government doesn't engage in collective bargaining, teachers have a right to strike. And if they have a right to strike, then you can't take out the money and you shouldn't stop deducting dues. All right? But the court has not ruled on collective bargaining per se. It has not ruled, although implied in the ruling, one can say the court is pointing in that direction, where it is rebuking the executive government for not engaging in collective bargaining. But I think there is grounds for a case now to be taken to court, and the General Council of the Teachers Union has given the green light to the executive of the GTU to go back to court. This time on the issue of collective bargaining. Because remember, the court ordered mediation. The teachers went to mediation. The government derailed it. Was that action constitutional or not constitutional? I think the teachers should go to court and ask the court to pronounce on that act by the government of violating the court order for mediation. In effect, undermining collective bargaining. And I think the teachers should go to court. And this time the PSU and others should join that case.
Thank you, Dr. Hines. It's 8:15. It's about time I can open up the line. Is there anything else you wish us to talk about? Anything else you want to talk about?
No.
So the lines are open. 622-5933 is the number to call. You're tuned to the Guyanese Morning Time. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. Call and let's talk. The thing. I see a comment of someone saying that people want to occupy government space or government land. Without due process, let me call it that. One of the things a lot of people fail to understand that the resources of this country, they don't belong to the government.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, Colin.
I just want to remind you that it was the same government that removed these people from Cherry Street. These people was on Cherry Street, and the same government removed them and telling them to go over there by the pump station. The same government, and the same government now come and move them again. That's all I want. Just want to remind you. That's all.
Thank you. So in short, what the call is saying is that the government and the operatives are known for moving, I would say, small business people from, they toss them around basically, because it's the same thing that happened with this type of vendors. You remember this type of vendors being moved from here to there to there. Donkey City, there was a big furore over the move from wherever they were to Donkey City and so on. So every time the newly rich, the friends of the government, recognizes that a particular area becomes lucrative in terms of business, then the government can move in and push those people away and take up these spots, right? So this person was saying that the government wants to relocate them and is offering them to relocate and so on. Where are they relocating them to? The question I ask about why some people can get permanent structures and others not. I don't see that being answered, right? You're asking why we want preferential treatment or something to the extent. Who is getting the preferential treatment really? Those vendors that are being forced out or those who have access to permanent business spots on the seafront, despite the fact that they came after those who are there being shifted around the place. Call it life. Call it your life.
Good morning, Mr. Dr. Hines. My thing this morning is that it's time the government should know that they're acting in a premature way. Everything they do is a premature way. And there was that little babies in the cradle.
And Guyanese have to be sensitized, especially with this show, Rickford Burke and Mark Benchcott, that we're supposed to take a different road and get these people out. And the main thing this morning I want to say that biometrics and a clean voters list, without we don't have that, I won't feel comfortable. I am in the diaspora and I plan to come back to vote. And without those things not met, I don't think we get anywhere. We have to press for that. And I would like to see the protesters come out in numbers and swarm that place at the Guyana Election Commission. We sit too long. And another thing, the most important thing, this guy that's squatting around the place and saying that T. Mohammed and Guyanese saying vote for T. Mohammed, we have to know that a vote for T. Mohammed is a vote for A. Fanali. We have to get in the back of our mind. A vote for T. Mohammed is for the PPP, and that would twist the plan of ours. Continue doing a good job, and good luck to you and Dr. Hines. Have a blessed day.
Thank you for your call. Dr. Hines, you can chip in at any time. I'm playing voice notes.
Good morning, Dr. Hines, Kadaki, and listeners. Added to the victory for the teachers, I think the court also underscored the fact that trade unionism is still relevant in our society. I'm not sure if relevant is the right word. But the thing is, the sitting government continues to try to disregard trade unionism in Guyana. So I see the ruling as a victory also for trade unions in Guyana. The sitting government has this way of bypassing all the regulations, the laws, etc. when it comes to certain things, right? Now, I'm happy not only for the teachers, but for trade unionism in Guyana. Dr. Hines, what you're saying about collective bargaining and all of that are features of the trade union. So here again, it's relevant, more or less. When it comes to our teachers, I stand with them, and I'm paying keen attention to what is happening. Trade unions in Guyana, as far as I'm seeing, now should be pushing forward for better wages, better working conditions, etc., for their supporters, for want of a better word. But those persons who contribute towards the unions should now have better representation. And I am not speaking now about GTU, because I am still to see Mr. Yard pronounce on anything that has happened. In fact, I have seen his deputy doing what Mr. Yard should have done. And I have a problem with that, but I will leave that for another day. As it pertains to the vendors on the seawalls, from the time the First Lady did what she did for the other side of the seawall by the bandstand, I asked the question, what happened to the other side? Why not show pictures of there? And I sensed that something would have been happening. My gripe again is that the sitting government continues to displace Guyanese, right? The working class Guyanese. I have no problem if you think that you need to upgrade. I'm speaking now in terms of infrastructure and all that. But come on, those vendors who you are pushing out are the perpetrators of the very idea that you're now utilizing, you and your friends. Why not have a contingency plan in place for those vendors? Why not include them in what you're doing? But no, the sitting government is not wired that way. They do not think that way. It's not their modus operandi at all. So therefore, once again, the sitting government has messed with the average man in the Guyanese society. Thank you.
Thank you for that voice note. Anything you care to say there, Dr. Hines?
Well, yeah, you know, look, development is something we don't want to stand in the way of. You know, I mean, all countries want development, infrastructure development, and so on and so forth. But if your development, first of all, your development has to be matched by proper compensation to those people who are displaced as a result of your development. Your compensation must be proper and must be worth the space that you are displacing people from. And secondly, people's livelihood. Where is a case of livelihood versus development? One has to be very careful in how you tread. Because if you're removing people where they're making a livelihood in a particular space, and you're moving them to another space where they cannot make an equal livelihood, then you're violating their human rights. If you are removing those people from the seawall, you have to remove them to a place where they can make an equal livelihood that they're making there. If that is not the case, then you have to compensate them. And that compensation has to take into consideration that, look, these people will probably take a year before they can find another place where they can set up business and make money. You need to compensate them for that year. So the government is not, you were going there just now when you were talking about, somebody mentioned government land. Government don't own no land. Lands are state lands. Governments come and governments go. Government own nothing. Government manage things on behalf of the state. And the state include the people. So those public lands are our lands. That is what state means. State means the people. All of us and the institutions. Is the institutions and the people make up the state. Government don't own shit. All right? Government manage institutions and assets on behalf of the state. And so when government is moving against people in situations like this, you have to say to these people, first of all, you have to give them enough time. Second, that if you're moving them, like I said, from a place where they're making a decent living, and you're moving them to a place where they cannot make the same kind of living, then you have to compensate them for that period that they are transitioning. Because these people have to transition from what they're doing there on the seawall to something else. And the government needs to compensate them for that.
Thank you, Dr. Hines. All your life.
Yeah, good morning, Dr. Hines, and good morning to yourself and everybody else. Now we're talking about what is happening on the seawall. The PPP regime means to destroy all Africans all over Guyana. Whether it's by destroying their homes, their businesses, they are on that callous move to make Africans in Guyana unhappy. I could remember when in the election time, when I think Winseeders first spoke of what they will do to the Africans in Guyana, and they are doing it. You know, it's a sad thing. When you watch things like Glory Joe, Super, Bishop, and the rest in the party, along with the main one who get us in this, Roxton George, I wonder how they look at themselves. I wonder how those presiding officers who did this skullduggery, how they see themselves and in what is going on in Guyana. And this thing what Guyanese got to do, we got to make up our mind. In whatever way possible, I like to put those people on the place there of their kind. You don't support them. But let me tell you what the people want. No, we going to buy from them. We got to buy from them. You make up your mind, you're going out on the sea. While you walk with two, if it's dry bake and a cup of water. Because what you see happen to those nurses in Kitty Health Center, there is only a test case for what will come further. And lots of people with them bottle water, what it for y'all does by. Anyway, there is the thing. And with the public servants, whether it's teachers, whatever, nurses, they all need a proper salary scheme. Because I could remember I used to carry rags at the estate. And years ago, one of the readers at the estate, reading between the game, she said, Randy, will make you waste your time for go to school, to get your CS, your GC, you got your third nurse. She said, me reading at the estate and me salary by far more than you. Me not to go to non-school and study to become a reading the estate. And look my salary. And it is still that same ratio that is going on within the sugar workers and the other set of public sector workers. I am not degrading them because there are many educated people, Africans, who because of the lack of jobs cannot get jobs, got to go into the same sugar belt and do the same type of work. No work demeans you. And this week when Kadaki read that thing, where they decide to stop teaching, educating teachers in Guyana, and to start bringing teachers from abroad, it's a slap. That means that nobody within that age group who would have been desirous of becoming teachers cannot do it. You see, the same staple not the black dogs, does not the white dogs. When they went into this place, Linden, and closed down the Charles Rosen Nursing School, nobody expected that they would have tried to do it in the teaching fraternity. Well, they have gone there. And I want to know, how does this installed regime feel that they are closing down notable educational institutions in Guyana and look to bring people from abroad? What are they saying about themselves? Because when it goes abroad, it shows that you cannot produce. Now, the installed thing went into the hospital in the States, where's a county hospital or whatever, to probably lure nurses to come back here. Well, I would like If you could, that or anybody could get the nurses' salary and put it up and let the nurses out there see if they decide to follow in front alley because of that visit to the hospital, what their numeration will be. And then we got to let them know that the houses they will be offered is one of the 5.3 million houses, where if they are obese, only their hands will be accommodated in those houses and the body mass clean outside. Lastly, the school in Den Amstel Primary School has not opened the doors to the children as yet, but the teachers there are going back into putting the work online for the children to do. Because how good of this installed government, they are now repainting and refurnishing and remodeling the Den Amstel Primary School. And I think there are more schools that they are now doing repairs on that, and the children cannot go to school. So the teachers have to resort back to online teaching as though it is COVID. I would like to Tyra Gal and the others in the government, with the installed government, to say what really is going on in the education facilities. Bye-bye.
Thank you. We got some voice notes to play. It is 25 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. You tune to the Guyanese morning time. Let me tell you that the Guyana Trades Union Congress, GTU, where is it? Yes, GTU is inviting you, I think, to its Labor Day parade.
Solidarity forever. The Guyana Trades Union Congress presents May Day Activities 2024.
The theme for this year is galvanizing and mobilizing for workers' empowerment and equal share of the oil wealth.
The May Day activities will start with the wreath-laying ceremony on Sunday, April 28, 2024, 4 p.m. at the forecourt of the Parliament building next to the Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow's monument.
Speakers will be Miss Indira Thakkerden of the Guyana Public Service Union, Miss Mariska Williams, First Vice President of the Guyana Teachers Union, Miss Mahalai McCalmont, Vice President for Education of the Guyana Trades Union Congress, Miss Kimberly Porter, President of the Guyana Local Government Officers Union. Chairperson and speaker is Miss Giselle Nelson, President of the Guyana Postal and Telecommunication Workers Union.
Then on Wednesday, May 1st, it's Labor Day, and all road leads to the parade ground on Middle Street for our May Day March, as we chant, raising our voices with our flags and banners against the modern-day oppressors for labor rights and better wages within the public and private sectors. We will end our march on the grounds of the Guyana Teachers Union playfield as we assemble in rally form to listen to addresses from our labor leaders like GTUC President Mr. Norris Witter, GTU President Dr. Mark Light, and GTUC General Secretary Mr. Lincoln Lewis.
So mark the dates and come out in your labor colors, and let's raise our voices against that modern-day colonial masters, as we say no to modern-day slavery under the PPPC government, and yes to better wages, the rule of law, and full submission to the Constitution of Guyana.
Solidarity forever. See you there.
But without our brain and muscle, not a single wheel can turn.
All of your life.
Yes, good morning, Dr. Daki and Dr. Hines. I'm calling you from Atlanta, USA. Thank you for your program. Thank you for your information. Congratulations for the victory of the teachers on this strike. What I'm saying to you this morning, I'm from Linden, and that's one of Bonham's strongholds. And we strike against him, and we get victory. And the teachers have the right to strike for what they want. This government here is out to make a certain race bow to their knees. Anything they want, they got to kneel down to the government and ask. It should not happen. This government did not give the title deed to Guyana. That country was given to the black. I'm not speaking race, but it was given to the black first. They come as indentured slaves. Lastly, I hear a lot of people speaking about Mr. Norton this and Mr. Norton that. He should not be the leader, what have you. I want the people in Guyana to take a page out of the Republican book. They don't care what Trump do. They say, I am a Republican. I am going to vote for him. And the people in Guyana must look at Mr. Harvey. He's the leader. Right? Let's vote for him. Whatever the outcome after the vote, if we have to make a change, you make a change. But now is no time to do it to the right now, because the TP back is against the wall. And if you try to divide right now, you're giving them weapons to play with. Let's come together and be a Republican and support Mr. Norton 100%. Thank you, my brother. God bless you.
Thank you for your call. Call your life.
Morning, Dr. Hinds. Morning to Dr. Two things. Let me start with the first one here. When are we going to have a unified front going to fight for a clean voting list and biometrics? Because time is ticking. Time is ticking. Let's say they say, okay, we're going to do it next year. Mid-next year when elections is just down the road. That means they have more time to do the nonsense of the pilfering, because it cannot be done within 6 months. It cannot be done within 6 months. I don't even think it could be done within a year to put systems in place. We need a unified front. We don't need the 7 or the faithful 12 or 10 no more. We need a unified front. They have set the pace. People need to join in on this fight for clean voters list and biometric, and the talk should be that resoundingly all the time. That should be the talk. Everybody, down to the baby that just get conceived in the belly, should be hearing that coming from most of us outside here. We need a unified front. The second thing, something comes to mind the other day, and I said, I was like, whoa, imagine we're getting blackouts left, right, and center. We're now getting what you call water shortage or water load shedding or water, bad water quality, bad this, bad that. Why should our oil be taken out of the ground and sent to places to continue to build their industries and their infrastructure? And what we are going through, we think it's like I come into your house, taking your food and feeding my kids, and your kids got to go on the road to beg. Is that right? You know, and when people are going to tell me that I'm wrong for this, when I talk about us building our own refinery, etc., you're hearing all sort of economic this and economic that coming from around the place. When we're still sending this oil out, this black gold out, industry, building out of people industries, building up out of people companies, and we're buying back this fuel and this oil product, be it plastic or whatever, all the byproduct, all the value added at market price. It makes sense. Does this make sense? And we still hit with our constant blackout, our bad water supply, our water even reaching more than 10 foot in the air, etc., etc., etc. This is all I have to say this morning.
Thank you for your call. Dr. Hinds, any comments? We have some voice notes. Call your live.
Hello?
Your live caller.
Thank you for that present. Good morning to you and to Dr. Hinds as well. Always nice to have Dr. Hinds on your program to offer some educational insights. The recent ruling by the judge, Justice Soul, I think the judge must be commended. He must be commended. It's nice to know in this dispensation we still have judges with the balls to offer a fair and impartial decision. And it's not the right time.
as we head into May Day, Labor Day, Labor Holiday, right? This decision come at the real right time. Because I believe the workers were really under the gun in Guyana with the unions and with the government and so forth. Now, what the decision have done is to reinforce what some callers, including myself, have always been saying on the various forums that we have been called in. And we keep saying to the nation, as well as to the government, that the people is the highest forum. The people are in charge of the government. The government is not in charge of the people. And that is the essence we have to drive home. And I think this case has to be used to drive home that point, because some people in the government, including Mr. Nandalal, tends to believe that the state or the government is in charge of the people. And they must do, and they have to do what they want to the people. But it's the other way around. It is the people who tell the government how to do things. Because the people would have put the government in there to look after their interest. Now, in this case, Mr. Nandalal is publishing on various forums that what the judge have done, something about the right to property, and the money is the government property. The money is not the government property. The money is not the government property. The money is the taxpayers' property. The money is the people's money. He talked about the right to property, so that if you work, no pay, no work, no pay, when the state has to pay, the state are losing their property. The state is not losing no property. That's the money belongs to the people. The taxpayers' money is the taxpayers' money, and this was not the people getting this praise. And when they review this case to the appeal court, I don't know what will happen to the appeal court, but if this matter reaches the CCJ, Guyana will be embarrassed. Guyana will be embarrassed. If Guyana was probably embarrassed because I showed the decision would have reached a past card already. But if it reaches that level, Guyana will be embarrassed because it will expose the government that you are fighting your own people, your own workers, that you are trying to beat them out. You fight against their rights. What people would have fought for over many centuries for the workers' rights, you are trying to repress against that. So, with the Union Jew story, when when I draw my salary, the money belongs to me. That money is my money. The money is the workers' money. It's not the government money. It's the workers' money. They own it. So now the workers are telling the government who they are working for, that the government is working for the people. The government is a servant of the people. So the workers are telling the government, listen, you take so much money from my salary and you give it to some to the union, you pay you take out and pay the loan, installment to the bank or mortgage or whatever. It is the workers who tell the government what to do with their salary. So if I am telling you what to do with my money, you cannot determine that you're not doing it. You cannot argue, say, well, what you want to do, what you're not to do. And this is what the judge tried to reinforce. That is why this decision was over 4 hours. Because he tried to cave over piece by piece and let the government know that you, and also when you take it, if you cannot take away one union dues and collect the rest, it's like you take away all the union dues or you don't pay none. You cannot take away one union due and collect it from the rest. That is where the government making a big mistake. And the GPSU who had this issue years ago, they should go back to the court to get the government to collect back the union dues. The GPSU now should use this case to reinstate the position for the dues to be paid. And I am also advising that the unions should now use this case to re-energize the workers, starting with going up to the various workplaces, to start with what we made around, to educate the workers about what really just happened. Because sometimes a lot of people, this thing is not really sinking. Some people would have given up and so forth. Explain to workers around the country that's a union responsibility. That the union responsibility is to educate the workers about this monumental decision. So that's my contribution. It is to let people reinforce the point that it is not the state who are in charge of the people, but it is the people who are in charge of them. That is the purpose of an election. An election is to put in a couple of people to look after our interests. The people is the highest form of the Constitution. So thank you and good day.
Thank you, caller. Caller, your life. Caller, your life.
Good morning, Karaki, and good morning, Dr. Hines. First of all, Dr. Hines, I want to compliment you. They say that you is a racist and you're preaching racism and so on. But I want to compliment you. The PPP is supposed to compliment you because you is one of the persons that is trying to keep black people civilly quiet in Guyana. Because you're explaining things, you're breaking it up fine like dust and give us hope, you know. But they are saying that you are racial. So I want to compliment you for doing that, for still keeping black people civil. But according to how this government is going, one of these days when we back it against the walls, then we won't be able to do anything else but fight back. And it would be so dirty if things didn't change. Now, I want to talk to Barajagdeo. I overheard a piece of his last press conference when he said about the attack story. He says only one man, and they want to blame the PPP. Well, the police officer who is alleged to deposit $16 million at the police credit union is only one man. The minister of government who is alleged to sodomize and rape the little schoolgirl is only one man. The government minister who is alleged hitting a female parliamentarian in parliament and allegedly goes after little boys is only one man. The regional officer from Region 9 who allegedly shot a woman that he had in his car is only one man. The government ministers who goes and lie to the United Nations, they are only one man. The vice president who is alleged to have solicited bribe in the sum of $500,000 is only one man. The international wanted man whose wife was seen drinking tea with the president's wife is only one man. And the list could go on and on and on. It will take all day. So I don't know what he's trying to tell people, you know. And this is what I have to rebut because the world is listening. So all these things are only one man. And that is why we need biometrics and a clean voters list. Or else, and I'm saying that times, that the opposition, the coalition, you said it already, and I'm reiterating this, they should put pressure on the external forces. Because at the end of the day, the external forces, they will have an influence in Guyana because we find oil. So they should put pressure on them to see that we have biometrics and a clean voters list. Or else the hell going to be very hot in Guyana. You know? People ain't going to be taking this all the time. And this, lastly, what I want to say, this is to my Indian brothers and sisters. Hell is like a wildfire. It spreads. And if you don't out it, you will get burned. If you wet it around the edges to contain it overnight, when you are asleep, it will dry out the edges and creep up and burn you. So kudos to those Indian people who are standing up for truth and right and civil human behavior. And for those that are not, check your vibes. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you for your call.
Okay, it's now 7 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. I need to play some voice notes. I have a few voice notes outstanding. Allow me to play them, and then I'll decide if I can take another call or two.
About struggle in Guyana. This struggle is not a Guyanese struggle. This struggle is a black struggle. I am a black person. I'm an African. This morning, I sat down and I listened to Dr. HINDS. And Dr. HINDS, Nanlal, Ali, and Jack Deo feel like you are a stupid man. But according to Buju Banton, it's not an easy road. Them fellas been have an easy road with you. You are very informative. You are intelligent. You are bright. You are smart, and you are brilliant. Having you around in this struggle is a victory. Is a victory because there are things that we didn't even knew about. You are bringing on the forefront to open the black people eyes who are struggling in this struggle. But anyhow, to make a long story short, the PPP know that they are on the ropes and they will be defeated. Good always conquer evil. Good will always conquer evil. Remember these things. Have a great day. Dr. HINDS, stay blessed. Stay up. Keep the fire burning, man. Keep them fellas on the rope.
Thank you for that voice note.
To close the ruling, the importance of that ruling for labor,
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki and Dr. HINDS. Let me say this morning. Now, our Guyanese, especially our African Guyanese, it is the time that we stand up against these atrocities. Now, what I am seeing clear as a Guyanese is that these people do not want, let me say, black people to have anything. We must be beggars, suck up to them, and all these kind of things. And if it's not being done, they always try to trick you somehow, or they use even our own to come against us. Now I am saying, where must these people put their structure? Why the seawall? Why they always pick a place where they see a lot of black people trying to make a living? Why they always pick a place where they see a lot of black people trying to build some home or something? What these people think it is at all? This country is not Barack and Irfan country, and then they got the hypocritical attitude. What he doing in New York with people talking about he in New York? They're only, why he in New York doing that? They're planning to break down these people's structures here. You understand? And we black people can't see that. So when people like Barack and Mark and them come to criticize the things that they're doing, they wanted to look them to keep looking nice, when they go with the lies about the place. But when you see Barack them speak, and they have evidence to show, they always Barack is racial. Racism is racism. Guyana is racism we're going through in this place. Look around. You don't have to go to the university to see it. And Ali is supposed to look and see that people are looking at him, what he's doing. This country, black people can't do nothing in this place, so they're always ready to come and do something, like just to break down your structure or something. What is it? What is it? They can't find nothing else to do in this place but to want this thing of black people from making a living, a rightful living. This thing really hurtful.
Good morning, Kadaki and Dr. Hines. I often say it on this program, PPP got a program to mash black people into the ground, and it's not a program of today, it's a program of since in the 1990s. The longer black people come to understand what is happening, they're going to suffer.
Good morning, Ms. Amsterdam. Good morning, Dr. Hines. You know, Bar Jack Dio and Nandala in Fanal, them get this belief that everybody is no child left behind inside of this country. People can't think for themselves. A simple, clear ruling like them and in Nandala can't even comprehend. Right? So you just have to give them sometimes because of the fact that they feel everybody is no child left behind. So people ain't got education, people can't think for themselves or be the judge of a certain situation or certain issue. This is the whole thing. With this PPP party, they believe that everybody is like them young people that on this road today who can't think for themselves. Right? Where they pass through school and give them a proper education, they feel everybody is like them. Anyway, you gentlemen have a great and wonderful day.
Guyana, good morning, good morning. Good morning to you, Dr. David Hines. Good morning to you, Kanaki Amsterdam. The one thing I just watch about when I get up in the morning and I walk out into the streets of Georgetown, right? I just ask myself, right? If these ministers really believe to themselves that they own this country, are they, you know, why they treating people like if this country belongs to their father or their mother, are they inherit this thing from the great grandparents or something they inherit this power? Why these people didn't understand that them as public servant and they got to engage with the public and they got to respect John Public? When will John Public decided that look, these ministers them is a bunch of shit and let me deal with them in the right and proper way? Because oh my God, I don't know what to say that this installed, dirty, stinking-minded people, what they're saying that they run in this country, what they really believe it is at all that that black people is nothing.
Bless good morning to you, Mr. Kadaki, Mr. Hines, and those in and out of the diaspora. My God, what all we as Guyanese want to recognize, to observe and see? How can we not see all the fruits of this government? Wicked, evil, vindictive, and so subtle, especially against the African race and the less fortunate Indians also who don't go after them or find them. Why are they so evil and desperate to fight down their own citizens, their own nation from prosperity or from prospering? A small, blessed country like this, oh my God, what are we waiting on, Guyanese? What are we waiting for? How much more evil would we like to have devouring our descendants and our future? This is real evil to the max. This is Lucifer at full work. Oh my God. They don't want people to get a daily bread. They encourage you to do something and then attack you after. Oh my God, what more can be done if these Guyanese don't stand up for righteousness and resist this evil? Time right now, the time is now. Stop this government in the track from this evil. They must stop doing this evil against this nation. And I do hope if they get knocked out, that what government go in there, bring them before the court, war court, our court, bring them and let them answer for these deeds what they do. Oh, God bless this nation. God bless you, Mr. Kadaki. We're going to get there by the grace of God, my brother. Stand up and write it and let us resist this evil. Oh, my God. God bless you, Mr. Kadaki.
Thank you for your voice note. And with that, Dr. Hines, the mic is yours. It's 3 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour.
Yeah, you know, Look, I know the government agents are watching this program. They do. And they're hearing people. It's a sample. And I think the sample that we hear on a program like this is representative of a larger body of thought and views in the community. And as I said, the court gave the government an oath. The court gave a government an oath to say, look, this is our court. We respect this court. And we respect the decision of the court. And teachers, come, let's sit down and talk. And come to an understanding and an agreement for living wage. You refuse to do that. You are just nakedly bulldozing people again. People who are making an honest living. An honest living. And you are pitting government priorities against the priorities of citizens, poor people, who are in most cases Black. You hear the frustration. You hear the frustration in my voice, but you hear the frustration in all of the callers. And I have to say, you know, one of the callers observed of the role that we play in trying to keep our country stable, and we are exhausting all the avenues open to us within Constitution, within the laws of the land, and within the context of civil behavior. Never mind what they say about us. But as Dr. King observed, how long are we going to be firefighters, where the PPP create their fires and then expect us to keep holding our people back? At some point, people are going to take matters in their own hands. My study of history, my study of Guyanese history suggests that to me, and the PPP will only have themselves to blame. They may think that they're invincible. They may think that they have all the bases covered. But they've miscalculated in the past, and they are miscalculating right now. They're miscalculating right now. And they're pushing Guyanese to the brink. They're pushing Guyanese to the brink. I don't know how much longer people are going to be able to hold it together. If this trend continues, the PPP will have to be blamed taking this country the direction it is taking it.
Thank you, Dr. Hines, for your contributions. Thank you for your time, your sacrifices. Stay safe, be good. You can join Dr. Hines tonight on Politics 101. You're still tuned to the Guyanese Morning Time. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. Let me address Shazim before I leave. Shazim is saying, in the first place, if the Black people understand the laws that govern the reserves at the seawall, they will act better. They're always crying victims. How can Guyana have an attractive tourist site like the seawall? Listen, it's the kind of double standard that aggravates me. From Kingston Seawall to the bandstand, isn't that part of the seawall reserve? Isn't that part of the seawall reserve? So it's okay to have structures from Kingston Seawall to the bandstand for the rich, but it's not okay for the ordinary man, the working poor, to have stands from, let's say, Camp Street to Kitty Pump Station. Is that what we were saying, Shazin? A tourist attraction is a tourist attraction. Thousands of people go there on a regular from all walks of life. With those very stands out there, those very stalls out there. I am saying if you want to make it uniform, make it uniform. But be fair to people. Like the coalition did at Wakanam or Supanam, wherever they did it. They made the stalls uniform. They made kiosks. And the original people who were there were not pushed aside. They were allowed to continue occupying those facilities. That's all we're saying. And, you know, Shazim and others, I don't understand where your humanity is. They got something named fairness. How would you like to build something and then somebody comes and they push you out and take it over for their rich friends and affiliates, and you are left now to gallivant in search of something to provide for yourself? It's not fair. It can never be fair. These petty arguments always about tourism and shantytown and when look good and who ain't following law. The PPP doesn't follow any law. They don't even follow the laws of humanity. So the Seawall reserves only start from Camp Street. Anywhere west of Camp Street is not Seawall Reserve. Y'all have a good day. Talk to you tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to tell you what's happening at the Enmore NDC. I said I didn't call their names, but I will call their names today. Tomorrow I will tell you what's happening at the Enmore NDC. I will tell you about a co-op officer named Gafoor. I will tell you about the allegations of Gafoor and others taking money to dispose of people's co-op land. Join me tomorrow morning. Spread the word. Have a great day. Goodbye.